The immune system of the human body is a network of different cells, tissues, and organs that work together in order to defend the body against attacks by foreign invaders. So that means anything that is not from the body or recognized by the body. And so when the immune system becomes invaded, it has an immune response. And so this is the reaction of the cells and fluids of the body to the presence of the unknown substance that is not recognized as something from the body. And when this happens, the body experiences a primary and secondary immune response. And this means that when something first enters the body, it's going to automatically start a response. And so the first response is the primary response, and this occurs when an outside antigen comes in contact with the immune system for the first time. So if you were to get sick and your immune system had never experienced this before, this is where this response comes into play. And it's to protect you from bacteria, viruses, and other foreign substances that the immune system needs to recognize these substances in order to develop a response. And so after the first response, there is a secondary response, and this is the next time you come in contact with the same antigen, your body recognizes it. So the next time you encounter this antigen, your body produces the secondary immune response, and this is more powerful the second time, and it will develop much faster. So the second time you get this sickness or infection, your body will respond faster and get the antigen out of the body much, much faster. Okay, so there's 4 stages to the primary immune response, and this is where it's a lot different than the secondary immune response. So first of all, obviously the primary immune response happens first and to begin with, and it happens as soon as the antigen enters the body. You start producing a response. And so there's 4 stages to this response, and that's the lag phase, which is also called the latent phase, the exponential phase, the steady state phase, and the declining phase. So the lag phase is the time from where the initial antigen exposure to when antibodies are detected in the blood. And this takes about a week for the body to really recognize it. And in this time period between when it enters and when the antibodies are detected, there are specialized B and T cells that are activated when they come in contact with the antigen. So that's the first stage of the primary immune response. The second stage is the exponential phase, and this is where you get a sharp rise in the levels of antibodies which are trying to fight off the infection. And these are secreted by plasma cells. So that's the second stage. And then the third stage is the steady state phase, which can also be called the plateau phase. And then the antibody levels stay pretty consistent due to the continuous secretion of antibodies to replenish any that have been damaged. So this is where basically you start to kind of level out until you get to the declining phase. So that's the third phase. The fourth phase is the declining phase, and this is where the antibody levels slowly start to decrease, and due to the existing plasma cells that are dying off, with no new plasma cells generated to replace them. So this is where basically your body starts to fight it off and is trying to get rid of it. And it's to protect us from outside things, like I said, like bacteria, viruses, and other foreign substances. And your immune system must go through these 4 stages in order to get us to the secondary immune response. So the secondary immune response has a shorter lag phase, and higher levels of antibodies are generated within a few days. So when your body realizes that you are coming in contact with the same infection or same sickness, it's automatically going to be like, oh, I've had this sickness before, let's fight it off, let's get this over with. And the reason that this happens so much faster than the first stage, which is the primary immune response, is because antigen-specific memory T and B cells were produced during the primary immune response, so it recognizes those things, and those are already in there to help fight it off. And because the secondary immune response happens so fast, it can be eliminated from the body fairly soon after it has entered and before it can even cause a disease. So when a disease, like if some foreign particle enters, the secondary immune response happens so fast that the disease doesn't even have time to process, basically. The antibodies produced remain in circulation longer to ensure the infection has disappeared. So all of those substances stay in the body just to make sure that nothing is left behind. So the amount of time it takes for a primary response to happen and secondary response to happen is different. The primary response takes longer for your body to recognize what's going on, and then the next time you have that foreign particle or substance or whatever it might be enter your body, the response time is a lot quicker. It can be a few days, whatever it takes, but the primary immune response could take more days than the second, even months. It just depends. So to go over this one more time, the primary immune response occurs when an antigen comes in contact with the immune system for the first time, and during that time the immune system has to learn to recognize the antigen and how to make antibodies against it and to eventually produce memory cells so that our bodies can recognize it again. And when the secondary immune response occurs the second time, or however many times it happens after that, the person is exposed to the same antigen. And at this point, there are memory cells that have been established, so our bodies will recognize it, and the immune system can immediately start making antibodies against this pathogen. And memory cells are basically receptors for antigens that quickly help the immune response and to lower infections. So that's why memory cells are extremely important in our bodies, and when we have a foreign substance in our body and we go through the primary immune response and we do produce those memory cells, it's extremely important so that the next time we encounter this foreign particle or disease or whatever it might be, our bodies will recognize it and we can get it out of our system much faster, and we don't have to worry about ever getting sick with that again.